Hello and welcome to the New Thought Men's Podcast, where we explore what it is to be a healthy spiritual man today. I'm Eamon. It's great to have you with us. Hello, I'm Eamon here with Reverend Dr. Raymont Anderson. Ray, thank you for being here. Ray is an ordained Center for Spiritual Living minister and serves as the founding minister and the spiritual director of the Center for Spiritually Integrated Arts, which is a Center for Spiritual Living teaching center. He brings his years of being a professional educator, a visual artist, performer, ASL interpreter, author, and lover of comics and film to all areas of his life and ministry. I know this about you, Ray, so it's great to be here with you. It's great to have your amazing energy and, just speaking about self-care, speaking about this audacious, radical, transformative self-care. For us as men, just at least the stereotypical masculine, guy out there. It seems like we're at the bottom of the list. Like there's everything else that has to have, everyone else that has to get taken care of before we take care of ourselves. And I think the really interesting part is, like, how do you fill someone else's cup? How do you care for others when you simply have an empty cup? There is no water to quench the thirst of, anyone else around you. And so we're left with these thimbles or drops of water instead of really being able to give our full attention, our full heart, our full service to, family, our loved ones, friends, community, and even giving back to the larger, our nation or the world. And so I just want to delve deep. We're going to dive deeper into this idea of self-care. I think in general, this is probably true, although we're, mostly speaking to a male audience here. Right. So there are some things I think that men might relate to. I loved this. The one comment was, every 5,000 miles, we change our oil with regularity, with precision timing, right? But how often, when was the last time you were at the doctor? When was the last time you were at the dentist?
Without having to be. Like right, you planned it in advance. Right. Or massage therapist. How do we do this? So, let's just delve into what is the self-care? How can we embrace it, embody it? How can we express it more? Even going against what the societal norms are, or what our own internal voice says of you're not deserving, you're not enough. Care for everybody else first. Don't. Yeah. I might have a little bit of that. Yes. Well, first, thank you for the opportunity to share with you and all of the folks who are registered. And so this idea for me is first recognizing, for example, you just used the example of every 5,000 miles. Well, in order to do what change the oil or whatever it is I'm doing every 5,000 miles, I have to be aware of what number is it now, So there's a certain level of awareness. If we're going to step into this space of self-care, then there has to be a certain level of awareness that says, what am I currently doing now? And what is the motivation that's causing this? So we know that we've been conditioned, that masculine, the traditional, you're a provider, right? And a protector. That has been driven in overt and covert ways. So
yeah,
if we go back and we look at our grandfathers or great grandfathers, their idea, culture and society, the idea of being the provider was, as long as your family has a roof over their head, clothes on their back, food on the table, warmth coming through on the cold day, then you've done your job. Yes, yes, I hear you. I hear you. But what of the cup of emotion, the cup of love, the cup of, yeah, the kids got great jackets and backpacks and, it's warm in the winter and we're all cool and we got food. But does dad love me? Because he's never told me.
Mm-hmm.
He's never hugged me. God forbid he ever kissed me, because their paradigm, and you don't do that to boys, because if you hug a boy and kiss a boy, tell a boy you love him, you turn him into a sissy and all that. That's the consciousness that they had drilled into them. And so still we have very insidious messaging that still comes through us today, that for a man to do this is to be effeminate. Well, wait a minute. Do we realize that that's a insult to what? Right? We don't realize yin and yang, the balance of masculine and feminine, the balance of darkness and light, it's the balance of and harmony of. Self-care is coming into a state of harmony with who and what we are, where there is no fear that says, why do I not go to the doctor? Well, let me pause and ask myself, when was the last time I went and had a massage? Like, when was the last time I really did something for me? Not because the kids need it, not because my partner needs it, not because the dog needs it, not because the cat said I had to, but because I want it for me. Wow. Right? Where is that? And if we have to go through the Rolodex of back in 1926 was the last time, then here's the opportunity to treat yourself to your own date night. Go get a massage. You're afraid of the doctor because you're afraid the doctor is going to what now? Okay, so then sit in that space of, why am I afraid? What am I afraid of? And then do whatever needs, therapy, a men's group, conversation with a friend, to move through that. That also is self-care. Self-care isn't always the glitz and glamour of, I got my nails painted or whatever it is. It's not always the glitz and glam of that. Sometimes it's simply just sitting down with a cup of coffee or a cup of tea and being present to ourselves because we appreciate who we are. Oh. But if we're not willing to sever the binds and the cords of that insidious messaging that still comes through today, then we're going to stay on the carousel or the hamster wheel of, I'm going, but I ain't getting nowhere. I'm going, but I ain't getting nowhere. Why am I not getting anywhere? Because you have to get off of that and explore new realms of possibility.
Yeah. I love, and it's an inner work. You're right. Absolutely. Like, we need to take that time. And how often do we actually do that? Maybe it's a daily practice, right? Ideally, daily spiritual practice. Hey, check in with yourself, do a little journaling, get in touch with, hey, what's going on for me before I enter, fill that glass before I enter into the world. And it's like, oh, the job demands this, the partner demands this, or needs this, or the child needs this. The family needs it, the community needs it, before we get into the doing busyness of it all, to really be able to say, hey, how am I? Let's start there. How am I?
And even your point about, well, what does the job need? What does the partner need? What does the cat, the dog, the kids, what do they need? What do I need? And am I ensuring that my needs are also being met? Because if not, then that cup will forever stay empty. And we will forever be parched and dying of dehydration, be that no affection, no validation, no fill in the blank. Whatever that cup is, it will stay empty because my needs don't matter.
Mm. Mm.
They have to matter.
Mm.
If you ask your partner, ask your children, do they matter? They're going to say yes. We know we matter to the dog because we go outside and get something 3 minutes later. The dog acts like we've been gone for a century. We're like, I'm happy to see you. I'm so weird. You've been gone. So they appreciate us. Can we do the same thing and appreciate ourselves in that way to ensure that our needs are met? First thing in the morning, what am I feeling? I feel sad. What is that sadness about? Am I willing to be with it and allow it to be here? What do I need? What will help me with the sadness? And then get it. Ask someone for, you know what, let me get on the phone. Eamon, you busy? Can we chat about, yeah, I'm feeling sad today. I don't know why. I just woke up feeling sad. Can I talk to you about it? Are we willing to do that to make sure that our needs, our cup is actually full to overflow so that we can then give to those who also need?
I think as men, we're so programmed, and you talked about it from early on, like early on, with this idea of rugged individualism. You have to be completely self-sufficient. As a man, is one of the stereotypes, and it keeps us. I think that inner voice actually keeps us from making that phone call, from reaching out, from even sometimes wanting to learn about, like, how am I feeling? Like, I mean, man, our feelings as children get shut down. Like, I mean, if you're in first grade, second grade, third grade, and it's probably different. I hope it's different these days for the young people. But back in the day, it was, if you were crying at those ages, boy, you got shamed. It got shut down by the teacher, by the other students, by your parents, by society, just because, boys don't cry. And so then we're like, oh, okay, message received. Don't let those push those emotions down. And so when they come up, because, like, what the idea is that we're not whole human beings here, that we don't have emotions as men. That's the realm in which women have. So I don't have some. That's ridiculous. We're all whole human beings. We have all of these things. And so for us to learn as men how to cope with, how to deal with, how to really understand our different experiences of feeling states within us is one of those big challenges. To knowing how we feel is a huge piece of self-care.
Very much so. And to your point about, part of the indoctrination, another reason why we won't share and come together is from an early age, we are taught to be competitive.
Yes.
And that competitive nature continues throughout to such a degree that why would I call you when I feel sad? First of all, I ain't supposed to be feeling sad because I'm a man. What are you sad about? You got money to earn. Put on your big boy panties or pants and drawers and do whatever, suspenders, and get out there and make $1. That's what you're supposed to do. Okay. So, but there's competition. We're supposed to be competing as men, competing as providers, which is one reason why when we get together at things and we say, not, Eamon, who are you? But what do you do? What do you do for a living? Because then there's that space of, now I can compare and contrast. Oh my, you're a minister. Wow, you facilitate men's groups. And I'm a school teacher. I'm a sanitation worker. Ooh, so now I sink down, and because what you do is more esteemed, that's competition.
Yeah.
When we engage in that form of competition, there is no way we are going to come together in collaboration or cooperation, and there's no space for compassion or true communication. Because from that space, all we can do is one-upsmanship. We even do it when it comes to misery. Dude, why are you complaining about your wife? Man, hush. Because my wife and the 3 kids and the 16 cats and the dogs, plus her mother and my mother-in-law, and then it's still the Olympics of drama and misery. Dude, I got so much on my plate. You don't breathe. Even competing with that. And it creates further and further distance, more and more emptiness, more and more suppression of our emotions and our feelings, greater and greater levels of hypertension and high blood pressure, et cetera, et cetera. It's not life affirming. It's not healthy to deny our wholeness.
Yeah. So powerful. So powerful. How do we find that place? You know, how do we find that resource of being able to create that space for ourselves and just practicing it, like just ongoing practice? It's like how are we developing those skills? How are we developing the practice of self-care on a regular basis? Much like taking care of the car, giving it a wash, cleaning it out, doing the oil change, doing the stuff, rotating the tires. You know, how often are we doing that? How are we? I guess how do you step into the practice? Let's say I'm not doing much self-care. How do I start this? How do I step into going, yeah, I like the idea of taking care of myself a little bit more. I'm resonating with this idea of, yeah, how do I fill my cup up? What would be some thoughts that you have on that?
So my first immediate go-to is, you know, sort of like the idea that you gave about the car is, am I able to see the car as an analogy for my own life? When I wash the car, what would it mean for me to wash? What is the thing in my life that is being washed? Oil change. What is being invited to change? Spark plug. What's being invited to spark new inspiration? Or what are the parallels between that and this thing I call my life, right? But in terms of just the general, I often remind people, or for me, I've identified for me, and it seems to work for others, this idea of 6 areas that we can be invited to look into. Physically, ask yourself, physically means our actual body and the physical space that we use, our car, our apartment, our home, etc. How do I feel about it? Am I happy with my body? Well, no, there's a couple extra. Okay, pause. Okay, I mean, it needs you to go automatically into the things that you don't like, but be aware. Is there something that I am invited to change? Well, you know, my blood pressure or a couple extra pounds. Okay, cool, gotcha. What can you do to bring that into the space of, I feel better about it? I'm in the realm of, yes, I like this. What is that? Same thing emotionally. What is your general emotional status on an average day? What do you feel? Do you feel happy? I don't even know what happiness is. What do you feel? I feel obligated. Cool. So what do you want to feel? I want to feel the joy that I felt when I haven't felt it since I started my first job when I was 13. I haven't felt it since I was 12. What did you feel when you were 12? I felt like I could do anything. I felt like I wanted to be an artist. And then I had, okay, so what do you want to feel? I want to feel that level of freedom again. Okay, so what can you do today? You know, Eamon mentioned a journal. Maybe get one of those traveling sketchbooks and sketch something. Start drawing. You haven't done it since, and it was one of the things that gave you that expansive freedom, draw something. I'm not asking you to redo the Mona Lisa or whatever. I'm not sketch something, 30-second gesture drawing or something. That's it as a first step, because it's something you haven't been doing. It's an invitation to start a new, not even a habit, but a new system of how you show up in the world. So physically, emotionally, in your relationships, socially, what's missing? Is there something missing with the kids, with the neighbors, with your partner? Is there coworkers? Do you feel seen? Do you feel heard? What's missing? Okay, so what do you want to feel in those spaces? What's one thing that you can do? And it might be, we don't like the V word. It might mean being vulnerable enough to tell someone, I really don't feel appreciated. I buy you kids all this stuff. Y'all think Santa Claus. I'm Santa Claus. I bought y'all stuff too. And y'all don't even say thank you. Do you not appreciate? It may be legitimately sharing, and we don't like that. You want me to be vulnerable? Just one thing. I'm not asking you to go to the edge of the cliff and leap. I'm saying be aware that there's something beyond the cliff, and simply begin to speak about, this is what I feel. I don't like feeling this. This is what I want to feel. Even naming it begins the process of, if you and I were going to sit down and make a meal and you ask me, so Ray, what are we cooking? Food? Dude, that's obvious. That's obvious. What kind of food?
Yeah.
Italian. Okay, it's a little more, what aspect that, we've got to get really specific. Once I can name it, then, now we know what ingredients we need. We don't have the meal yet. We can't eat it yet, but at least we know what are the steps that come into play to creating the meal that we now ingest. So even saying, I feel hurt, brings a level of clarity to it. I want to feel appreciated. Begins to set in motion a different energy that we haven't been in before. And that right there is part of what self-care is.
Yeah. Yeah, identifying it within ourselves, but also being able to communicate that to someone else. Having the ability to say, yeah, this hurts, or this is painful, or I'm struggling here. I think that can be hard sometimes, especially for us as men, and I imagine for women too. I know for women too. It's hard to have that communication. It's hard to have that honesty. It is vulnerable. The V word, vulnerable. I love that. And how do we then be able to take that self-care and allow others to also love us in the way that we want to be loved? You cooking an Italian dinner for me is that's love. I appreciate that. Or giving a hug, or telling me that I'm loved. I appreciate you. I see how you show up in my life, in our life. I think I have one short story I want to share. And it kind of ties back into what you were talking about a little bit before. My dad was from another generation, and so he was not a hugger, and his dad was not a hugger. His dad was a doctor, so he had this kind of separation. And he would tell my sisters that he loved them and hug them, but he never did that with me. And so after doing men's work for a number of years, I decided that's what I wanted. I chose it, and I had to choose it because he didn't have it in his like in his realm of possibility. I think that's just how he grew up. And so every time I'd stop by, as I was going, I'd give him a hug and say, "See you, Dad, I love you." And every time I would pause just a little bit longer than was comfortable for him and holding that hug. And it didn't take long, honestly, like before he was like, he wanted a hug when I came in, and there was a hug leaving, and there was an "I love you." And it did not take much, honestly, to be able to communicate that way in a verbal or nonverbal way of, "Hey, I want to know that you love me, Dad. I want to know that you love me." And I'm so grateful for that experience, because it means the world to me now that he's passed, for us to have that healing and for us to deepen in that relationship. And I think that is that vulnerability piece of saying, "Hey, I really want to know. I mean, I feel like my dad loves me. He gave us the stuff. He did the work and had the food and the clothes and all the stuff we needed. But to have this, this piece of the feeling piece with another man, with our father, with our friends, with our brothers, sitting in a circle and being able to share this vulnerability, so that we don't need to be this stoic man who's taking care of everything, who's the rugged individual, and I've got it all under control."
Exactly.
And we know that's a lie.
Exactly.
We can't do that. It's not sustainable for sure.
Exactly. It's like the love language so my love language is provider and protector. Okay, but that's all? Like, can't we are intersectional and multidimensional beings. We have feelings. We're not, even Mr. Spock, the archetype of Mr. Spock, being half human, he felt emotions. And even just for the sake of, I just went all Star Trek.
No worries.
We think of Vulcans as not having emotions. Vulcans suppress their emotions because they feel so powerfully that they keep them in very, as you said, stoic check. But the emotions are there. And part of why so many people love Mr. Spock, Dr. Spock, Ambassador Spock, is because he represents the idea of how these two seemingly conflicting cultures, ways of being, Vulcan and human. He is the melding of, the embodiment of the balance between the two. So rather than just, existing off the energy of my love language is provide and protect. Here's a gift. Here's a word of affirmation. I love you. I know I don't tell you that very often, but I do. I really do. I see you. Just that.
Yeah. Huge.
Is ground moving for people. And sometimes, as you said, sometimes we have to be the one to initiate that and say, this is what I want. This is what I need. I'm going to ask for it.
Yeah.
Not everybody's going to be able to give it. Like you said, and my dad was the same way. My mom, all up until the day she died, she never became an initiator. No matter how many times I hugged, no matter how long I hugged, it got to the point where I would hug her and she'd push me away and be like, boy, get up off me. That's her baggage. Sometimes we're going to ask. The time I went to IHOP one time and asked for pancakes and they said, we don't have any. What? It's in the name of sometimes people aren't going to be able to give what we ask for.
Yeah.
And we have the authority to say, okay, I appreciate you being honest with me and letting me know, and then go somewhere else where we're fed, where we're nourished, where we're supported.
Yeah. Yeah. Final thoughts, Closing comments.
Just one thing, referencing the idea of, breaking up the pattern of, or breaking up the domestication, the indoctrination, is the idea of the provider and protector. We are very goal oriented. Get it done, get it done.
Yeah.
And even when I'm talking to either my grandkids or even my sons, if I'm talking to, or anybody, and I ask, so what's up, what's going on, et cetera. And oftentimes people will say things like, or, what's a goal, or what's your vision? And they'll say, I want to go to college. Like, okay, cool, but that's not what you want to do. That's one hashtag, one hash mark, one benchmark in the grand scheme. It's not the end all and be all. So what else? They're like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, okay. And then they'll say, to get a degree. No, that's part of. To get a good job. No, that's also part of. You go to college to get a degree, to prayerfully get the job doing whatever it is you want to do, so that I make a lot of money. No, it's not. So that I can actually live my life and have love and joy and orgasmic bliss just by waking up and seeing a sunrise and sunset and being free to. That's what you want.
Yeah.
All of this other stuff are ingredients to get us there. The invitation, final thoughts, the invitation is, let's not be so focused on, as Bruce Lee said in the movie Enter the Dragon, do not focus on the finger. The finger pointing to the moon is simply a signpost. If you focus on the finger, you will miss all that heavenly glory. Don't focus on your job, or you will miss all this opportunity to live. Don't focus solely on providing things, or you will miss all this heavenly glory. Focus and expand it so that you are able to truly know what all that life has to offer. And then you invite this in and offer this out. And then the cup can never be depleted, because we are allowing it to be filled by so many different things. The rain fills it, the tap water from the faucet fills it, the well fills it, the ocean fills it, the snow fills it, that everything is filling our cup of life to overflow, and that we give to all those around us from the overflow. Because there's more than enough.
Yeah. Abundance, true abundance.
Amen.
Yeah. Oh, Ray, thanks so much. We could talk for hours. We could talk for hours, my friend. But I just want to thank you for your time today. It's always great spending time with you, and I'm sure we will talk again soon. Thank you for being a part of this New Thought Men Summit, and look forward to more conversations. Thank you, brother. I hope you enjoyed this interview from the New Thought Men's podcast. For instant access to all podcast interviews, talks from our summit, men's groups, and so much more, join us at newthoughtmens.community. Thanks so much for being with us today. There's more to come, so stay tuned in.